On the distant world of Epsilon 9, a small human colony sat under the twin suns of the planet. The people who lived there were peaceful, having settled far from the conflicts of the galaxy. Among the settlers was Alex Rivers, a quiet man who lived with his daughter, Emma. Alex had once been a soldier, a super soldier, trained for the most dangerous missions the galaxy could throw at him. But for years, he had put that life behind him. He and Emma lived a simple life, growing food, working the land, and enjoying the peace they had found on this quiet world. But peace is fragile. One morning, the silence was broken. The Vrica, a ruthless alien raider species, arrived on Epsilon 9. They had been raiding nearby colonies for years, but the settlers of Epsilon 9 had managed to stay off their radar. That was until today. The Vrica, driven by their need for power and conquest, wanted to break the spirits of the humans they encountered. They believed that if they could crush the will of these people, the galaxy would finally see them as the true rulers of the stars. Alex was in the fields when the Vrica landed. He heard the roar of their ships overhead and saw the smoke rising in the distance. He knew something terrible was happening, but what he didn't know was that his daughter, Emma, was caught in the chaos. The Vrica had already begun their attack on the colony, using their advanced weaponry and tactics to take control of the settlement. They moved quickly, taking prisoners, burning houses, and spreading fear. Emma, who had been helping an elderly neighbor, was taken. She had been caught in the chaos when the Vrica raiders stormed the settlement, dragging her away to their camp. Alex had no idea what was happening to her, but he knew he couldn't wait for the authorities to act. He had to move quickly before it was too late. Alex's mind flashed back to the days of his military service, to the rigorous training he had undergone, the missions that had taken him to the farthest corners of the galaxy. He was no ordinary man. He was a super soldier, genetically enhanced, trained to survive situations that would have killed most other beings. But that life was in the past. He had sworn never to return to it. Yet for Emma, he would do anything. He started running toward the colony, his heart racing. He knew that if the Vrica wanted to break him, they would target his daughter, and they didn't know what they were getting themselves into. He was no longer the man who lived a quiet life. He was the soldier once more. As Alex made his way through the dense forest that surrounded the colony, his mind raced. He knew that the Vrica were ruthless, and they had a reputation for torture. He had heard stories from other survivors of their raids, stories of people broken by pain, suffering, and fear. But Alex was not like other men. He had been trained to endure the worst of it. What the Vrica didn't know was that they had captured the daughter of someone who had survived the impossible. The air was thick with tension as Alex neared the Vrica camp. He could hear the sounds of alien voices shouting orders, the clank of metal against stone, the low hum of technology far beyond what the humans had. His sharp eyes scanned the camp. The Vrica were everywhere, heavily armed and well organized. But Alex was used to outnumbered situations. This was nothing compared to the battles he had fought in his past. Moving with the stealth of a predator, Alex began taking out the Vrica soldiers guarding the perimeter. He was fast, efficient. A single strike to a soldier's throat silenced him, his body falling to the ground without a sound. Another alien attempted to call for reinforcements, but Alex quickly knocked him out with a swift punch. He moved through the camp, avoiding detection as he neared the central area where Emma was being held. Inside a large, dark tent, Alex found his daughter. She was bound to a chair, her face bruised, tears streaking down her cheeks. The Vrica had done what they always did, tormented her to break her spirit. Alex's blood boiled as he watched the aliens continue their cruel treatment. But he knew he couldn't act recklessly. There were too many of them, and any sudden move could cost Emma her life. He waited, watching from the shadows, calculating his next move. His hands clenched into fists, his mind focused. Alex had never failed a mission. He wasn't going to fail his daughter now. The Vrika commander, a towering figure with dark purple skin and glowing red eyes, entered the tent, sneering at Emma. He was in charge of the raid, and Alex knew he would be a formidable enemy. The A commander was known for his brutal tactics, using fear and pain as weapons to break any resistance. He was about to make the same mistake that many had before him. He was about to underestimate the human spirit. "Tell me, human," the commander hissed. "Where is your father? We know he's out there. We will make him watch as you suffer." Emma, her face pale and swollen from the beating, lifted her head slightly. She was in pain, but she still had the fire of defiance in her eyes. "My father will come for me," she whispered, her voice trembling but firm. The commander laughed. "Your father is nothing but a broken man. There is no one who can stop us." That was when Alex struck. With the speed and precision of a trained soldier, Alex moved into the tent, his movements barely detectable. He knocked out 2 Vrika guards before they even realized what was happening. The commander turned, his eyes widening in shock as Alex approached, his hands ready for combat. "You're too late," the commander sneered. "You cannot win. Your species is weak." Alex's eyes were cold, his voice calm. "You don't know what you're dealing with." With that, the fight began. The Vrika commander lunged at Alex, swinging his massive fists. But Alex was faster, dodging each blow and countering with strikes that sent the commander stumbling back. The commander roared in anger, but Alex was relentless. He fought with a precision that was terrifying to watch, each move calculated, each strike landing with deadly force. This was not the man who had lived quietly for years. This was the soldier, the super soldier who had faced countless enemies and emerged victorious. The commander fell to his knees, his chest heaving with exhaustion. Alex stood over him, his breathing steady, his expression unreadable. You are a monster," the commander gasped. "No," Alex replied. "I'm a father." With one final punch, the commander collapsed, unconscious. Alex rushed to Emma's side, cutting through the ropes that held her. Her eyes widened as she looked up at him, disbelief and relief filling her expression. "Papa," she whispered, her voice weak, but filled with hope. Alex lifted her gently into his arms, holding her close. "I'm here, Emma. I'm here." The camp was still alive with chaos, but Alex had done what he came to do. The Vrika would not leave with Emma. They would not break her. And they would never underestimate humanity again. As Alex carried his daughter away from the wreckage of the Vrika camp, he knew the fight was far from over. The galaxy was full of dangers, and his enemies would grow stronger. But for now, he had one victory, the most important one. He had saved his daughter, and he had shown the galaxy that no one, not even the most ruthless alien empire, could defeat a human when the fight was personal. And Alex Rivers was ready for whatever came next. The quiet of Epsilon 9 had returned, but Alex Rivers knew it was only temporary. The danger was still out there. The Vrika had been defeated, but their threat lingered in the air like smoke. Alex had been able to save Emma, but the battle wasn't over yet. He had to make sure they were safe. No one else could be trusted to protect them. He carried Emma through the forest, her weak body nestled against his chest. She was too exhausted to speak, her body battered from the torture, but her grip on him was firm. She was alive, and that was enough for now. Her safety was his priority, and he wasn't going to rest until they were far away from any danger. Alex's mind raced as he walked. He couldn't ignore the horrible truth. The Vrika would come back. They always came back, and next time, they wouldn't make the same mistake. They had underestimated him, but they would learn from this defeat. Alex couldn't allow them to regroup and return to finish what they started. He had to find a way to stop them once and for all. But for now, they needed to hide. He reached the small cabin where they had lived before the invasion. It was humble but safe. Alex didn't care about luxury. All he wanted was peace for his daughter. The world outside could burn, but in this cabin, they would be safe. For a while, at least. He laid Emma down on the bed inside the cabin, tucking the blanket around her. The cabin was small but cozy, with simple wooden furniture and a fireplace in the corner. The smell of wood filled the air, a welcome scent that reminded Alex of the life they had before all the violence began. Emma looked up at him, her eyes heavy with sleep. She was too tired to speak, but her gaze was filled with gratitude. "I'm sorry," Alex whispered, brushing a strand of hair away from her face. "I should have been there sooner." Emma didn't reply, but her hand reached out to grasp his. Alex took a deep breath, trying to push the guilt aside. He had done everything he could, but part of him still blamed himself. He had left his daughter vulnerable, hiding away from the world he once knew. The super soldier in him had been dormant for years, buried beneath the desire for a peaceful life. But now he was reminded of who he really was, and it terrified him. He didn't want to go back to that life, the life of constant fighting and bloodshed. But the Vrika had forced his hand. They had threatened the one thing he cared about most, Emma. And when you threatened someone he loved, Alex would not rest until that threat was gone. The memories of his past rushed back. The training, the battles, the endless wars fought in distant corners of the galaxy. The pain, the loss, the sacrifices. Alex had been a weapon, a soldier made for war, designed to do the impossible. But he had left that all behind. He had chosen peace. And now it was too late to go back. He had already crossed that line. The fire in the hearth crackled softly, the only sound in the cabin. Outside, the wind howled through the trees. Alex sat by the window, watching the darkness fall over the world. He had always been a soldier, but now he was a father. The war might have been in his past, but it was still part of him. He couldn't escape it. And now his daughter's future depended on the decisions he made in the coming days. A few hours later, Alex heard the sound of a ship's engine overhead. His heart skipped a beat. He stood, his eyes narrowing, listening carefully. The Vrika had ships that could move silently, but this was different. This was something else. He quickly grabbed his weapons, hidden in a secret compartment beneath the floorboards, and readied himself. Emma was still asleep, but she needed to stay hidden. The last thing Alex wanted was for her to see him fighting again. She had already witnessed too much. He stepped outside, the cold night air biting at his skin. The ship flew low, casting a shadow over the cabin as it passed overhead. It was too close. Alex's instincts kicked in, and he immediately began to assess the situation. The ship was definitely not Vrika. Its design was sleek, streamlined, and unlike any vessel Alex had encountered before. Whoever it was, they weren't here by accident. He moved quickly, staying low to the ground, and found a place to hide where he could keep an eye on the ship. The craft was beginning to land just a few miles away, near a large rocky outcrop that overlooked the valley. Alex's gut told him this wasn't just some random visitor, it was important. But who were they? And why had they come to Epsilon 9, Esmir? The ship settled onto the ground. Alex crouched, making his way toward the landing site. His training told him to be cautious, and he was determined not to make the same mistake twice. He had to find out who these people were before making any moves. He stayed hidden behind rocks and trees, moving silently as he approached the landing site. The ship's engines powered down, and Alex could hear voices, alien voices, coming from within. The language was unfamiliar, but there was a rhythm to it. It wasn't the harsh growl of the Vrika, or the mechanical tone of other races he had encountered. This was something different. Alex stayed in the shadows, watching as figures began to emerge from the ship. They were tall, humanoid, and dressed in silver armor. Their faces were hidden behind visors, but their movements were graceful and calculated. They didn't look like soldiers, but more like diplomats, or perhaps mercenaries. One of the figures stepped forward, holding a device in their hand that seemed to scan the area. The figure paused, scanning the ground around the ship before turning to the others. Alex could see the other figures reacting to the device. They appeared concerned. It was obvious they were looking for something, someone. Alex's mind raced. Were they here for him, or were they after something else? Maybe they were searching for the Vrika raiders. But something didn't sit right with him. The way they moved, the way they were scanning the area, made Alex feel uneasy. They knew exactly what they were looking for, and they were willing to search until they found it. Alex didn't wait to find out who they were searching for. He had to get back to Emma. He turned and hurried back toward the cabin, his mind focused on her safety. These strangers might not be enemies, but Alex wasn't about to take any chances. He would deal with them later, after he made sure Emma was safe. She was everything to him, and he would protect her, no matter the cost. As he reached the cabin, he saw Emma standing by the window, her face pale. "Dad," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Who are they?" Alex looked at her, his heart breaking. "I don't know. But we're going to be okay," he said, trying to sound reassuring. But inside, he felt the weight of the unknown pressing down. On him! Alex knew that their lives had just changed forever. The Vrika were no longer their only threat. The galaxy was filled with dangers, and the people on that ship might hold the key to their survival, or their destruction. In the quiet of the night, as Alex and Emma waited for whatever came next, one thing was clear. The peace they had fought so hard for was slipping away, and Alex Rivers, the soldier, was about to be thrust back into a world he had tried to leave behind. But this time, he would fight for more than just survival. He would fight for his daughter, and he would make sure that anyone who threatened their future would regret it. The next morning, the sun had barely risen over the valley of Epsilon 9 when Alex stood at the door of the cabin, looking out at the stillness of the world. The air was crisp, and the landscape stretched out before him, untouched by the violence that had shattered the peace only days before. It was hard to believe that this quiet, beautiful planet had been home to such horrors. The Vrika were gone, but the weight of what had happened lingered. Alex's thoughts were interrupted when Emma approached, her footsteps slow and hesitant. Her eyes were tired, but there was something else in them, an unease that Alex could sense, even though she was trying to hide it. She had seen things no child should ever see, and the memory of the Vrika's cruel actions was something that would stay with her forever. "Dad," Emma said softly, her voice trembling. "Are they still here?" Alex turned to face her, his face hardening as he tried to put on a reassuring smile. "I don't know, Emma, but we're going to be okay. I'm not going to let anything happen. To you." She nodded, but Alex could see the fear in her eyes. Fear of the unknown, fear of the future. He knew that she had seen enough violence to last a lifetime. The Vrika had come to break them, to make them bow, but they had underestimated humanity. Alex had shown them that, but now a new threat loomed. Those strange visitors from the night before were still out there. He had to find out who they were, and what they wanted. The last thing he wanted was for Emma to live in fear again. She had already been through so much. He needed answers, and he needed them now. After a quick breakfast, Alex made the decision to investigate. He didn't know if these visitors were friends or foes, but he couldn't afford to wait any longer. They were still out there, and he needed to understand their intentions before they posed any real threat. Emma insisted on coming with him, but Alex knew it was too dangerous. He couldn't risk putting her in harm's way again. Reluctantly, he left her behind in the cabin, promising he would return soon. The day was overcast, and the sky was filled with dark clouds as Alex made his way through the dense forest toward the rocky outcrop where the ship had landed. He moved, carefully making sure to stay out of sight, using the terrain to his advantage. His super soldier instincts kicked in as he silently navigated the landscape, moving quickly and efficiently. As Alex approached the landing site, he kept low to the ground, listening for any signs of movement. The ship was still there, parked, just beyond the rocky cliff. The strange visitors hadn't left. He crouched behind a large rock, peering out from his hiding spot. He could see the armored figures from the night before, still standing near the ship, their faces hidden behind dark visors. They were speaking to each other, their language foreign and unintelligible to Alex. They were waiting for something. But what? Alex couldn't afford to get too close. He needed to observe and gather information first. He watched them for what seemed like hours, trying to make sense of their actions. They were preparing something, maybe for departure, but Alex couldn't be sure. Finally, one of the figures moved toward the ship, entering it and disappearing inside. The others stood guard, seemingly unaware of Alex's presence. He waited for the right moment to act, his mind racing. The longer he watched, the more certain he became that these people weren't here to harm them. But they weren't exactly friendly either. Alex needed to make contact, but he couldn't risk being spotted. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows over the valley, Alex made his move. He carefully approached the ship, staying low and using the cover of the trees. His heart beat faster, but his mind was focused. This was the moment when he would either find answers or end up in another fight. Alex reached the ship without being seen. He crouched down behind a large boulder near the ship's entrance. From his position, he could see the figure that had entered earlier now standing near the ship's control panel, working on something. The other soldiers were still standing guard, occasionally glancing around the area, but they seemed more focused on the ship than on anything else. Alex took a deep breath and stepped out from behind the boulder, keeping to the shadows. He moved, with purpose, his every step calculated, until he was within earshot of the figure at the control panel. The soldier's back was turned, and Alex could hear their voice as they spoke into a communicator. He didn't understand the language, but the tone seemed serious. With his heart pounding, Alex stepped forward and called out, "Hey!" The figure froze, turning slowly toward him. For a moment, everything seemed to stop. The soldier's eyes narrowed, and Alex's breath caught in his chest. Had he made a mistake? Would this be another fight? But instead of drawing a weapon, the soldier stepped forward cautiously, their hands raised in a non-threatening gesture. "You are the human?" the soldier asked, their voice calm but firm. The accent was strange, unlike anything Alex had heard. Before, Alex kept his distance but nodded. "I'm Alex Rivers. Who are you, and what do you want with us?" The soldier's visor reflected the dim light as they tilted their heads slightly, as if considering the question. "We are the Alfar, a peaceful race. We seek no conflict. We have come to investigate your world." Alex was taken aback. Peaceful? These soldiers looked far from peaceful. But he didn't have time to argue. He needed to know more. "You're lying," Alex said, his voice filled with suspicion. "You're not here just to investigate. What do you really want?" The soldier's posture remained calm, though there was a flicker of something in their eyes. "We have no quarrel with you, human. We are not here for conquest, but for knowledge. We believe your world is important." Alex's instincts told him to be careful. The galaxy had too many so-called peaceful species that hid their true motives behind lies and deception. Still, something about the soldier's words felt different. There was no aggression in their tone, no hidden threat in their actions. "Why? Here?" Alex asked. "What's so important about Epsilon 9? The soldier paused for a moment, looking around as if making sure no one else was listening. Then they spoke again, their voice low and urgent. "Your world's history. It is more significant than you realize. It holds the key to a war that is coming, a war you cannot win alone. Alex frowned, trying to process the information. A war? What war? And why was Epsilon 9 involved? Before he could ask more questions, the soldier stepped back, gesturing for Alex to follow. We cannot stay here long. If you want to know the truth, come with us. But you must decide quickly. Alex hesitated. His daughter was still back at the cabin. What if this was a trap? What if they had been sent by someone else to finish what the Vrika had started? But the soldier's words rang in his mind. A war. You cannot win alone. For the first time in a long time, Alex felt like he had no choice. He had to learn more. He couldn't risk letting this opportunity slip away. Fine, Alex said. I'll come with you, but if you try anything funny, I won't hesitate. The soldier nodded, a hint of respect in their eyes. We understand. Stay close and follow me. As Alex followed the Alfar soldier toward their ship, he couldn't help but wonder what he was getting himself into. The world he had known was changing, and the dangers were far greater than he had ever imagined. He had fought wars before, but this one felt different. This wasn't just about survival, it was about something bigger, something that would affect everyone. Alex walked alongside the Alfar soldier, his thoughts racing. They were heading towards the strange ship that had landed on the outskirts of Epsilon 9. The Alfar soldier was silent as they moved, but Alex could tell they were aware of every sound around them. Their steps were quick but quiet, and Alex struggled to keep up, pushing aside the doubts in his mind. The air was cooler now, the sun having fully set. The ship's glowing lights cast eerie shadows over the landscape. The ship looked like nothing Alex had seen before, sleek, metallic, and shaped almost like a bird in flight. It hovered just above the ground, its engines humming softly, as if it were ready to take off at any moment. They reached the ship's entrance, where a hatch slid open automatically. The Alfar soldier gestured for Alex to enter first, and after a brief hesitation, he stepped inside. The interior of the ship was unlike anything he had ever imagined. The walls were smooth, with strange markings that seemed to pulse softly in the dim light. It was as if the ship itself was alive, breathing with a quiet energy. The soldier led Alex down a narrow corridor, their footsteps echoing on the metal floor. There was a sense of purpose in the soldier's movements, as if they were used to traveling in ships like this one. Alex followed, his mind still trying to piece together the puzzle of who these people were and why they had come to Epsilon 9. They stopped at a door that slid open with a soft hiss. Inside was a small but comfortable room filled with seats and strange equipment. The walls were lined with what Alex could only describe as screens, showing maps of the galaxy and planets he didn't recognize. The soldier took a seat at a control panel and gestured for Alex to sit across from them. You want to know why we are here, the soldier said, their voice calm, almost too calm. And I can give you that answer. But first, you need to understand who we are. Alex sat down, leaning forward slightly. I'm listening. The soldier nodded. We are the Alfar, an ancient race that has watched over the galaxy for centuries. We are not like the Vrika. We do not seek to conquer or destroy. Our purpose is different. We seek knowledge, balance, and protection. Alex raised an eyebrow. Protection? From what? The soldier's gaze darkened, and for the first time, Alex saw a flicker of emotion in their eyes. There are forces in the galaxy far older and more dangerous than the Vrika. Forces that will destroy entire worlds without a second thought. We have been tracking them for centuries, and we believe that Epsilon 9 holds the key to stopping them. Alex's mind raced. Epsilon 9? What does this planet have to do with these forces? The soldier's voice grew quieter. Epsilon 9 is not just another planet. It is an ancient site, a place where powerful artifacts were hidden long ago. These artifacts are the only known weapons capable of stopping the coming threat. but they have been lost to time, scattered across the galaxy. Alex leaned back, trying to process everything. So, you're here to find these artifacts? To stop this threat? Yes, the soldier said. And we believe that the humans on this planet, your people, are the key to unlocking their power. Alex shook his head. Why? What do you mean, the key? The soldier hesitated, as if choosing their words carefully. Humans are not like other species in the galaxy. You have an energy, a potential, that no one else has. The artifacts recognize this energy, and they will only reveal themselves to those who can harness it. We believe that humans are the ones who can awaken these weapons and use them to defend not just your world, but the entire galaxy. Alex stared at the soldier, trying to make sense of what they were saying. So, you need humans to help you find these artifacts and stop this threat? The soldier nodded. Correct. But it is not as simple as it sounds. The forces we are up against are incredibly powerful, and they have already begun their campaign. They are searching for the artifacts as well, and they will stop at nothing to get them. If they succeed, the galaxy will fall. Alex's mind was still spinning. And you think humans can stop them? The soldier's expression softened. I believe in you. We have seen the strength of your species, the resilience, the courage. That is why we came to you. Alex felt a strange sense of unease settle in his chest. He had fought many battles in his life, but this was different. This wasn't just about survival. This was about saving the entire galaxy. And he was being asked to trust these strangers, the Alfar, who seemed to know far more than they were, letting on. So, what now? Alex asked. What do you need from me? The soldier stood up and moved to one of the screens. They pressed a few buttons, and a map of Epsilon 9 appeared. The artifacts are hidden across the planet. We have found traces of them in various locations, but we need your help to find the exact locations. You know this world better than anyone. Alex frowned. Why don't you just search for them yourselves? The soldier's voice was steady. We are not allowed to interfere directly with the inhabitants of this world. Our mission is to guide, not to control. We can provide you with the tools and the knowledge, but the search must be led by you and your people. Alex felt a surge of determination. He was no longer just protecting Emma. He was being asked to protect an entire world, maybe even the galaxy. It was a responsibility that weighed heavily on his shoulders, but he also knew he couldn't do it alone. He needed help. He needed the humans of Epsilon 9 to join him in this fight. I'll do it, Alex said, his voice firm. I'll find the artifacts and help stop this threat, but I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing this for my people, for my daughter. The soldier gave a small nod as if they had expected this answer. We understand, and we will help you in any way we can. Later that evening, Alex stood outside, the ship looking out over the valley. The stars twinkled above him, their light distant and cold. It was hard to believe that such a peaceful place could be the center of something so dangerous. But Alex knew better than to underestimate what lay ahead. The Alfar had promised to help, but the path ahead was uncertain. He didn't know if the artifacts were truly what they said they were, or if this was just another elaborate plan to manipulate humanity. But for now, Alex had no choice but to trust them. They had saved Emma, and they had given him a chance to protect her and the entire galaxy. As Alex returned to the cabin, he found Emma sitting by the window, staring out into the darkening night. She looked up as he entered, her expression tired but hopeful. Did you find out what they want? Emma asked quietly. Alex nodded, walking over to her and sitting beside her. They want our help. There's a war coming, one that could destroy everything. We know. But we can stop it, Emma. We just have to find the artifacts first. Emma looked up at her father, her eyes wide with uncertainty. Are we ready for this, Dad? Alex looked at her, his hand gently resting on her shoulder. I don't know, but we're going to do everything we can to protect this world. Together. The following morning, Alex stood at the edge of the cabin looking over the quiet landscape of Epsilon 9. The world around him felt still, almost peaceful, but beneath the surface, the tension was rising. The Alfar had shared their secrets with him, and now it was up to him to protect his daughter, his people, and the entire galaxy. The weight of that responsibility pressed on him, but Alex had faced greater challenges before. This time, however, the stakes were higher, and failure wasn't an option. Emma had fallen asleep early the night before, exhausted from the events that had unfolded. Alex had done his best to reassure her, but he could see the fear in her eyes. She had been through so much already, and now, knowing that the galaxy was at risk, he couldn't help but wonder if she would ever feel truly safe again. As he watched, the first light of dawn touched the valley. Alex heard footsteps behind him. He turned to see the Alfar soldier, the one who had brought him to the ship the night before, stepping out from the shadows of the cabin. "I see you've made up your mind," the soldier said, their voice calm but filled with purpose. Alex nodded. "We're ready to begin the search, but I need more details. You said the artifacts are hidden across the planet. Do you know exactly where they are?" The soldier shook their head. "We only have traces of their locations. The artifacts are ancient, and their energy is not easily detected. We've spent years gathering information, but it is scattered and incomplete. You and your people will have to search for them. We will guide you, but the final discovery will be yours." Alex took a deep breath, steeling himself for what was to come. "I'm not doing this alone. I need help." "Of course," the soldier replied. "You are not alone in this mission. We will contact your leaders and assist you in assembling a team. But the final decisions will rest with you." Alex felt a sense of relief. He had already made the choice to lead, but having the support of his people, the ones who had trusted him, would make all the difference. The Alfar soldier led Alex back to the ship, where a communications console was waiting. The soldier quickly tapped a few buttons, and a holographic image of the colony's leaders appeared in front of them. Alex recognized several of them: Jenna, the colony's mayor, and Captain Walker, the head of the local defense forces. "Alex, I assume you have important news for us," Jenna said, her voice tense but welcoming. She had always trusted Alex, and the two had worked together before, but this was different. This was something beyond the scope of anything they had dealt with. "I do," Alex replied, stepping forward. "We have a new problem, a galaxy-wide one, and we need your help," he explained. Everything: the Vrika's attack, the Alfar's mission, and the threat that was coming. Jenna and Captain Walker listened intently, their expressions darkening as Alex spoke. "So you're saying that Epsilon 9 is the key to stopping this threat?" Captain Walker asked. "And you need us to help you find these artifacts?" "Yes," Alex replied. "The Alfar believe that humans can unlock the power of these ancient weapons. We need to find them before the enemy does." Jenna took a moment to consider the information. "This sounds insane, Alex, but I know you. If you're saying this is real, then I believe you. We'll help however we can." "We'll start by gathering a team," Captain Walker added. "We've trained our people for years, but this is a new kind of fight. We'll need everyone." Over the next few days, Alex worked closely with the colony's leaders to assemble a team. People from all walks of life, scientists, soldiers, engineers, and explorers, volunteered to join the mission. They were a diverse group, each with their own skills, but they were united by one purpose: to protect their world and the galaxy. As Alex gathered the team, he couldn't help but feel a growing sense of pride. These people, his people, were willing to fight for something greater than themselves. They had already faced adversity and survived. Now, they would face the greatest challenge of all: saving the galaxy. The Alfar provided them with advanced tools and technology, which would help in their search for the artifacts. They gave them a map of Epsilon 9 with the general locations of the artifacts marked. But Alex knew that the true challenge lay in finding the exact sites, and the clock was ticking. Every moment they delayed, the enemy grew stronger. The first location they investigated was deep within the forests of Epsilon 9. It was a place the settlers had avoided for years, fearing its dark reputation. Strange energy readings had been detected there, but no one had ever been brave enough to explore it. Until now, Alex, along with his team, made their way through the thick trees, the air heavy with the scent of damp earth and foliage. The forest was quiet, too quiet, as if it were holding its breath. Alex could feel the tension in the air, a strange energy that seemed to pulse with each step they took. It wasn't just the forest that felt off. It was something else, something ancient. They reached a clearing, and there, in the center, stood a massive stone structure half hidden by vines and moss. It looked like it had been there for centuries, untouched by time. As Alex and his team approached, the stone seemed to hum with a low vibration, almost like it was alive. "This is it," one of the scientists said, his voice filled with awe. "This is the artifact's resting place." Alex stepped forward, his hand resting on the stone. The hum grew louder, and the ground beneath his feet seemed to shift. A door in the stone slowly began to open, revealing a dark, narrow passage. The team stood in awe, but Alex's mind was focused. This was just the beginning. There would be many more places like this one, hidden across the planet. They didn't have much time. But with each step they took, the closer they came to stopping the coming war. As they descended into the depths of the stone structure, the air grew colder. The walls were lined with strange carvings and symbols, none of which Alex could understand. But one thing was clear: these markings were old, older than anything Alex had ever encountered. The artifacts they were searching for were not just weapons, they were pieces of a history long forgotten. The passage led them to a large chamber, where a pedestal stood at the center. On the pedestal rested a glowing crystal, its light faint, but steady. The crystal pulsed with energy, and as Alex approached, he could feel the power radiating from it. "This is it," the scientist whispered. "The artifact." Alex stepped forward, reaching out to touch the crystal. As soon as his fingers made contact, the chamber shook, and the crystal flared to life. The symbols on the walls began to glow, and a voice, deep and ancient, echoed through the chamber. "To awaken the power, one must be chosen," the voice intoned. "Only those who possess the strength of the heart can wield the power of the ancients." Alex's heart pounded as he heard the voice. He had heard these words before, when he had been trained as a soldier, when they had told him that only the strongest could survive the trials ahead. But now, those words took on a new meaning. The strength of the heart was not just about physical power. It was about something more, something that would decide the fate of the galaxy. He reached for the crystal once more, determined to unlock its power and stop the threat before it was too late.